So with the midterm elections just a couple days away, polls all over the place. Some polls show Democrats winning certain Senate races, then the next poll shows them losing. So who knows what's happening with the polls? Who knows what's going to happen in the midterms? But let me throw another wrench into the gears here. Another thing to, I guess, just confuse everybody about what to expect on Tuesday. According to new data released by the real estate firm Redfin, red states, red counties, and purple states and purple counties, those swing counties and states that really could go either way in an election, they became more blue during and after the pandemic here in the United States. And no, I'm not talking about the fact that, yes, more Republicans died from COVID than Democrats. That is something that hasn't been factored into any of the polling, so that's the X factor too. This is coming from real estate data. And so what happened is that you have traditionally white areas that are also the red areas that saw a massive influx, hundreds of thousands of people moving there that were not white. African Americans, Latino voters, and Asian voters flocked to these areas during the pandemic. And overall, according to the data from Redfin, these red states, red counties, purple states, and purple counties got 1% less white during the pandemic. And those three groups of voters that I mentioned do, in large numbers, mostly vote for Democrats. It's not 100% voting for Democrats, but most of the time, those particular demographics will vote for the Democrat over the Republican. And they just moved to Republican areas to the point where they dropped down the white percentage by 1%. And if you don't think 1% can swing an election, then you haven't been paying attention to American politics for the last 25 years. So that is another X factor. You have demographics that have shifted since the 2020 census. And the reason that is important is because the polling being done right now is based on data from the 2020 census. So if the 2020 census showed that, hey, in this state, 60% of people are Republican and 40% are Democrat, that means when they do their polling, they're going to call 60 Republicans for every 40 Democrats, because they want their sample to reflect the census demographics. So they're oversampling Republicans because these areas, due to both COVID deaths and demographic shifts after the 2020 census, there's more Republicans being represented in the polls, which means the polls are going to skew Republicans, even though the voting base is no longer that skewed. I hope that makes sense, because that is about the only way I can describe it here. Again, we're not talking about huge, massive shifts, but we are talking about shifts that could basically present some really surprise upsets on Tuesday evening, where you have Democrats outperforming the polling data. Again, due to those two massive X factors, the demographic shifts past the pandemic, and of course the majority COVID deaths being Republicans. Those are also not included in the census. I don't want people to get your hopes up too high. I still say Republicans are going to take back the House, but I do think we will see a couple of surprise upset victories for the Democrats that Republicans didn't see coming, because of all these demographic shifts, all of the deaths that are not being factored into the polling data.
This is Hattie. Hattie wants to know why you have not subscribed to our channel. You obviously like our videos, so do us a favor and subscribe.